Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and if this is your first time of watching my video, this is Regi School of Fashion. In this video, I will be showing you how to sew a safari suit, which is the third episode of this video series. As at the time I'm recording this video, I have 3 detailed tutorials already on how to make a safari suit, which are number 1, how to draft a safari suit pattern. This is a stand-alone video. Number 2, how to sew a safari suit episode 1. And number 3, how to sew a safari suit episode 2. If you are yet to watch those videos, kindly find the links to the videos in the description area below. In today's tutorial, we will continue from where we stopped in the last episode, which is assembling of the lining, facing, and plotting of the darts. Make sure you subscribe to my channel if you haven't, because on this channel, I upload fashion designing content regularly for both male and female, using pattern drafting, which is the world standard method in clothing construction. And also, please support my channel by watching ads on my videos. Please don't skip ads, because that is one of the ways you guys can pay me back for my hard work in making sure I deliver a premium content to you guys. With that being said, let's go. In the last episode of this video series of how to make a safari suit, we cut out the linings for the front and the back. We cut out the facing, we fused the facing, we picked the darts on the main fabric and the lining. You can see this is for the front and this is for the back. So we picked the darts, and also on the fabrics we picked the darts on both front and the back panels. So in today's tutorial, we proceed in making the pocket. After cutting out the lining, front and the back lining, the facing, joining the pieces together, picking the darts, the next step is to attach the pocket. Based on the design of the safari suit I'm making, I will be having 4 pockets on the front bodies. 2 pockets at the upper part and 2 pockets at the lower part. You can have different pocket designs, as we all know, because I said it in the first episode of this video series, that safari suit comes in different designs of pockets, different designs of collar, and different designs of vents. And of course, after the making of this particular design of safari suit, I will be showing you how to make different designs of safari suits as well. So make sure you subscribe to my channel so that you won't miss any part of these videos. Okay, so now we proceed in construction of the pocket. So now I'll be drafting pattern for the pocket. We have 2 different sizes for the pocket. The upper pocket is smaller than the lower pocket, so I will be drafting the bigger pocket first. That is the pocket that falls at the lower part, and the measurement I will be using is 8 inches by 7 inches. But firstly, I'm using this side as the center front. So the measurement I will be using in drafting the bigger pocket is 7 inches by 8 inches. And I'll be making use of this side as the center front. So I will label this side as the center front. So the width of the pocket is 7 inches. That is the bigger pocket. And the length of the pocket is 8 inches. Okay, and because of the design of the pockets, I will be having pleats at the center of the pocket. So from the center front, I will measure 1 inch inward. So here is the center front. Then the next step is to measure out the pocket opening. Okay, so for the pocket opening, I will measure 1.5 inches downward. So this part is the upper part of the pocket. So this is the hop. then I will make it a straight line. So after marking out the pocket opening, the next step is to insert the pocket length, and the length of the bigger pocket is 8 inches. Okay, so from here to here is 8 inches. So after this 8 inches point, then I will add extra half of an inch for finishing the lower part of the pocket. So which means in total I have 8.5 inches for the pocket length. Okay, so after inserting the length of the pocket, the next step is to insert the width of the pocket. And because I'm using this side as a center front, I will be inserting half of the pocket width. The pocket width measurement is 7 inches, and half of 7 inches is 3.5 inches. And I'll be taking the measurements from this line, not from the edge of the pattern. So from this point, I will insert 3.5 inches. That is half of 7 inches. So when I'm cutting this out on fabric, my fabric will be on fold. So after opening it up, I will have my 7 inches back. So here is 3.5 inches. So on the length of the pocket as well, I'm inserting the same 3.5 inches, and I will extend it downward to the allowance I have at the lower part. So I'm connecting this together to make a straight line. So now I have measurement for the width and the height of the pocket. So the next step is to add seam allowance by the side of the pocket, to which I will be adding half of an inch. Okay, so the next step is to shape the lower part of the pocket. This is based on the design of the pocket you are making, as I said earlier. Okay, so you have to work based on your preference. So now at the lower part, this is the center and this is the side. So by the side of the pocket pattern, I will come up by 2.5 inches, which is here. Then I will get the midpoint of this part. So that's the midpoint of 3.5 inches. That is 1.75. If you don't know how to locate that point, watch my video on how to read a measuring tape for pattern drafting, in which I explained how you can locate every values you come across on your measuring tape with ease, how to convert your fraction values to decimal, and how to convert your decimal values to fraction. The video has been linked up in the description area as well. And guys, if you are getting value so far in this tutorial, give this video a thumbs up, and also please watch ads on my videos. That is the only way I get paid by YouTube. Okay, so after getting the midpoint, then I will be connecting these 2 points together using my curve ruler. So with this, I will have the shape of my pocket curved out. So this is the pocket design I want to have on my safari suit. So you can see what I'm having. how beautiful it looks. Okay, so the pattern is ready for the bigger pockets. So I will cut this out and I will draft out the smaller pockets. Okay, so this is the bigger pocket. So this is the pocket opening. I label this as up. So this is going to be cut on fold, and I will be cutting 2 pieces for this. So I will keep this aside and I will draft the smaller pockets. So now I've drafted out the pattern for the smaller pockets, and here I have the center front. So this is the center front. This is going to be with pleat as well. So I measured 1 inch forward from the edge of the pattern paper to this line is 1 inch. Then at the upper part, I measured 1.5 inches downward as well. So this is going to be for the finishing of the pocket opening. Then for the length of the pocket is 6 inches. So from this point to this point is 6 inches. Then I added half of an inch as seam allowance. And for the width of the pocket is 5 inches. And because this is the center of the pocket, I measured out half for 5 inches. That is 2.5 inches. 5 inches divided by 2, 2.5. So from this point to this point is 2.5 inches. And I added half of an inch for the seam allowance by the side as well. So in total, I have 3 inches from this point to this point. So at the lower part of the pocket, I measured the same values. From here to here, 2.5 inches, plus extra half of an inch for seam allowance, in total 3 inches. Then I shaped the lower parts of the pocket, in which I measured 2 inches upward from the hem allowance at the lower part of the pocket, which is here, from this point to this point, 2 inches. Then I got the midpoint of this line as well, which is here. So I connected the 2 points together. That was why I achieved this curve. So with this, I can cut out the pattern for the smaller pocket. And after cutting it out, this is what I have. Then I will label this appropriately. So this is the upper part of the pocket. This is the center. So this is going to be on fold, and I'll be cutting this in 2 pieces. So after cutting out the 2 pockets, the next step is to cut out the pocket flap. So this is based on the design of the pocket, and here is the pattern for the bigger flap. So I have the same measurement I have on the pocket here as well. So the width of the pocket, as I said earlier, is 7 inches and the length is 8 inches. But for the flap, I folded the pattern into half. So here is the center, and this is going to be the upper part. So this is the upper part. So this side is the upper part of the flap. So this side is going to be on fold. Okay, and I'll be cutting this in 2 pieces as well. So I folded this into 2. So this is the center. So the width of the flap is going to be the width of the pocket plus extra 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so this will help the flap to cover up the pocket opening properly. It will not open at any side. Okay, so here I have half of 7 inches, which is 3.5, and I added extra 0.125. If you don't know how to locate 0.125 on your measuring tape, watch my video on how to read a measuring tape for pattern drafting accurately. The video has been linked up in the description area. So after marking out 1/8, 1/8 is the same thing as 0.125. I added half of an inch as seam allowance. Okay, so by the side. Then for the height of the pocket's flap is 3 inches. So this is a 3 inches point. Then after the 3 inches, I added half of an inch as seam allowance as well. So in total, for the height of the pocket flap, I have 3.5 inches together with the seam allowance. Then for the width, I have 4.125 in total together with the seam allowance. So after opening this up, so I will be having After opening it up, I will be having 8 inches and 1/4 for the width, and for the height I will be having 3.5 inches. So now I will be cutting out the flap for the smaller pockets. So guys, I've cut out the flap for the smaller pocket as well, and I use the same inches I used in cutting out the pocket. So don't forget, I used 5 inches for the width of the smaller pocket, and for the flap as well I used same 5 inches. Okay, so I added extra 1/4 of an inch plus seam allowance. So in total, if I open this up, what I have here for the width of the flap is 6 inches and 1/4. Then for the height of the flap is 3 inches plus seam allowance, so which means I will be having 2.5 inches at the end of the day. So the next step is to cut this out on the fabric. There's no need of having any markings on the fabric. I have all the seam allowances added on the pattern. I will cut this out on the fabric, and I will also cut out a fusible interfacing. Don't forget, this has to be cut on fold and 2 pieces. 2 pieces of the fabric and 2 pieces of the fusible interfacing. Then for the flap, 2 pieces for the fabric and 2 pieces for the fusible interfacing. So that is for the bigger pocket. For the smaller pocket, 2 pieces on the fabric, 2 pieces on the fusible interfacing. The same thing for the flap, 2 pieces on the fabric, 2 pieces on the fusible interfacing. Now guys, I've cut out my fabrics and the lining. As you can see, this is for the big pocket, this is the flap, the smaller pocket and the flap. So I'll be removing the pins, okay, so that you guys can really understand. So here is one piece for the bigger pocket. As I said, this is going to be on fold, and I'll be cutting out 2 pieces. You can see the center, and I have 2 pieces. Then for the lining as well, I have 2 pieces cut out, and I have my center on fold. Then for the flap, so this is the pattern. The pattern was on fold when I was drafting. I opened it up, I placed it on the fabric, okay, and the fabric was on fold at the upper part. So that was why I labeled this side as the upper part. You can see on fold. Then it's going to be 2 pieces. So here is the upper part of the flap is on fold. And I cut out 2 pieces for this as well. 2 pieces for the fabric and 2 pieces for the fusible interfacing. So this is for the bigger pocket, and for the smaller pocket, I cut out 2 pieces for the fabric and 2 pieces for the fusible interfacing. Then for the flap as well, the upper part is on fold. You can see I have 2 pieces for the lining, and I have 2 pieces for the fabric, and I have 2 pieces for the fusible interfacing. So the next step is to fuse the fusible interfacing together with the fabric, so which I'll be showing you right now. All I need to do is just to take one of these and take one of the fusible interfacing. So you have to choose the wrong and the right side of your fabric, okay. Okay, so this is the right side of my fabric. So this has to be on the wrong side of the fabric. That is the fusible interfacing. It will be glued on the wrong side of the fabric. So I have this like so. So I will give this a good press in order to join the two together. And the same rule is applied on the second piece, like so. So I have the 2 pieces for the bigger pocket. Then for the flap, I will open it up. I will open up the flap like so. On your fusible interfacing, the shiny side is what will be facing the wrong side, like so. Okay, so this is the cloth one. Okay, it is a very quality one. If you cannot afford this, you can go for the polythene one. So we have polythene for the fusible interfacing. We have the ST, we have the cotton. This is 100% cotton, and we have the paper one. So I will fuse this as well. Now I've fused my fusible interfacing together with the fabric, as you can see, and this is what I have. So this is a smaller pocket. I fused the fusible interfacing like so. So after which I folded it into half and I ironed out the center of the pocket. So this is the first piece and this is the second piece. I fused this, I folded it into two, and I ironed out the center. So for the bigger placket, the same thing. I folded the pocket into half and I ironed out the center. Okay, so here is the pocket flap. I fused this as well with a fusible interfacing. Then I folded it into two. At the upper part, this is the upper part that I said is going to be on fold. So at the upper part, I folded it into two, and this is going to be the height of the flap, and this is the width of the flap. So I ironed this out as well. And you can see the positioning I have here is the wrong side facing the wrong side, like so. And the smaller flap, for the smaller placket, I applied the same method. I fused it and I folded it into half and I ironed out the center. Now the next step is to pleat the pocket. So if you remember when I was drafting the pattern, I added 1 inch as a pleat allowance at the center of the pocket. So this is where the 1 inch falls, so which I measured out. This is the folded side of the pocket. So from the center I measured 1 inch inward, and you can see I measured it straight down. So this is where the pleats of the pocket will fall. So this is for the two bigger pockets and this is for the two smaller pockets. Now in stitching the pleats, so this is what I will be doing. Please pay a closer attention at this point. From the pocket opening, which is the edge of the pocket, don't forget I added 1.5 inches for finishing the edges. Okay, and at the lower part I added 1/2 inch as seam allowance. So I'm marking out those 2 points. This is 1.5 inches point and this is 1/2 inch point. So after that, the next step is to measure what I have left, which must be the height of my pocket, that is 8 inches. Then I will get the midpoint. Now I want to have an opening at the center of the pocket, so that is why I'm going through this process. So I want the height of the opening to be 4 inches. So after getting this midpoint, I will be measuring the 4 inches upward and downward. Half of 4 inches is 2 inches. I will measure 2 inches upward like so. So from the center as well, I will measure 2 inches downward. So with this I have the 4 inches for the opening. So now I'll be stitching from the edge of the pocket and I will stop at this point, this 2 inches point. So let me cross this out, let me cross this out. Okay, so this is the pocket opening point and this is the same allowance for the lower part. Okay, so I'll be stitching from the edges of the pocket downward and I will stop at this point. So this is 2 inches So when I get to this point, I will lock my stitches, I will stop, then I will pick it again from this 2 inches point, and I will stop at the lower part, not at this point, but at the lower part of the pocket, and I will lock my stitches. So that is how I'll be creating a pleat on my pocket. So the same process goes for the smaller pocket. Okay, the first step is to measure out the allowance at the upper part, which is 1.5 inches. Then the same allowance I have at the lower part is 1/2 inch. I will measure that upward as well. Then I will take the measurement I have left, which is 6 inches. So I'll get the midpoint of 6 inches. So here, this is the midpoint. Okay, so in this case, because this pocket is smaller than the other one, I want the opening to be 3 inches. So the opening will be 3 inches, so which means I will be having 1.5 inches upward and 1.5 inches downward. So here is a point and here is a point. So this is the midpoint. So this is the midpoint. From the midpoint to this point is 1.5. Then from the midpoint to this point as well is 1.5. Now I will be stitching from the edge of the pocket, and I will stop at this 1.5 inches point, which is here. So when I get to this point, I will lock my stitches. Then I will not stitch on this 3 inches height. From this point to this point, I will not stitch. Then I'll come to this point again, then start my stitches, and I will stitch all the way down. So that is what I will be doing on both pieces of the pocket. So now I will be stitching from the edge of the pocket. This is the edge of the pocket. I will stitch downward and I will stop on this 2 inches point. So now I'll continue stitching from this point. So from this 2 inches point to this point, I will not stitch. I will leave this side aside like this. So this is the opening I will be having at the center of the pocket, and I will start the stitching again from this point downward. So this is the bigger pocket. Then for the smaller pocket, I'm repeating the same process. I will stitch from the edge of the pocket, and I will stop on the 1.5 inches point. So I will not stitch from this point to this point. I will pick the stitches from this point again downward to the pocket lower part. Now I have the 2 pieces of the pocket stitched, one bigger pocket and one smaller pocket, and I'll be repeating the same process on the remaining 2 pieces. Now I have all the pleats stitched out on my pocket. So the next step is to open it up like so. You can see what I'm having on the right side, and I'll make sure I position the pleat allowance on one side. So I'll be giving it a good press, flat like this. Then at the center of the pocket, there will be an opening around there. So this is going to be a design on the pocket. So I'll give it a press like so on each of the pockets all around. So after giving it a press, I will have it like so. Then I will be marking out my seam allowances all around the pocket. At the opening of the pocket is 1.5 inches. I will mark it out like so. Okay, then I will fold it inward. Can you see what I'm having? I'm folding it like so, and I will give it a good press in order to create the pocket opening, and I will be stitching. Then I will be securing the edges like so with my hemming tape. So here is my hemming tape. So I will place it underneath. So this is a gum. Once I apply it to it, it will dissolve and it will hold the two fabrics together like so. Then on the right side I will have something like this. So I will be applying this on all the 4 pieces of the pocket, on the 2 pieces for the smaller pocket and 2 pieces for the bigger pocket, and I'll be back to show you the next step. Now I have all the pockets opening constructed, as you can see, on the 4 pieces. Okay, so now I'll be taking 2 pieces and put it aside, and we'll concentrate on 1 big pocket and 1 smaller pocket. So now I've constructed the side of the smaller pocket by measuring my seam allowances all round, which is 1/2 inch, and I folded it inward. I gave it a good press. So I'll be showing you what I did on the bigger pocket. So by the side I have 1/2 inch all round, so I marked that on the right side of the pocket. So after marking the seam allowances all around like so, then I will be folding this inward. So as I'm folding, I will be giving it a press, following the shape I have here. I'll be giving it a press like so. I'll give it a press. So I'll give it a press all round. So when you are making yours, if you notice you don't have a perfect round shape around this part, all you need to do is just to take your scissors and place notches around the curve. Okay, so make sure you cut just a little. You should not get to the marked point, so just notch. So this will make it easier to achieve the curved shape. So now I will take this to my ironing board. I will give it a good press all around. I will be folding in my seam allowances and I'll be giving it a press all around. So after that I will have something like this. You can see what I have for the smaller pockets. So guys, now I have all the pockets ironed out. As you can see, this is the bigger pocket and this is the smaller pocket. So the next step is to construct the flap. I have flap for the bigger pockets and I have flap for the smaller pockets. In constructing the flap, I will open this up like so. Then I will fold it right side facing the right side. After folding it like so, then I will be stitching on both sides of the flap. So I'll be stitching with 1/2 inch seam allowance I added, this side and this side. But for the flap opening, I will not be stitching on this side. You can see this is a folded side, this is the 2 sides of the flap, and this is the opening of the flap. So I will not be stitching on this side. Now I have the 2 flaps folded, right side facing the right side, and I'll be stitching the sides. So this is what I have after stitching. You can see. So the next step is to trim off the seam allowance so that the inside of the flap will not look bulky. Okay, then I will be turning this inside out like so. So I'll make sure the edges pointed out properly. Okay, so with the help of my scissors, I can pinpoint the edges of the flap like so. So here is the bodice. This is the side of the bodice and this side is the center of the bodice. The pocket is going to fall towards the center of the bodice. So from the shoulder line on the HPS, so this is the HPS point, the highest point on the shoulder line. I will place the tip of my measuring tape and I will measure 7.5 inches downward. Actually it's 7 inches, but because I have half of an inch of seam allowance on the shoulder line, so that is why I will be measuring 7.5 inches. So which is here. Then I will be taking the smaller pocket and place it on the 7.5 inches point. Like so. So now I want my pocket to fall at the center of the dart. Here is the dart line, as you can see. And also on the pocket, I have a seam on the center front of the pocket as well. So these two seam points will align together like so. So you can see what I'm having. Then I will secure this at the center with my sewing pin. So this is what I have after pinning. You can see. So then I will be running stitches all around the pocket. This is not going to be an S stitch because of the design of the pocket. Okay, so I will be marking like 1/4 of an inch. That is 0.125. So I will be stitching on that point all around the pocket. 0.125. So this is not going to be an hair stitch. So that is how the design of the pocket looks like. Okay. So I will stop when I get to this edge. Now I've attached the pocket, as you can see. So the next step is to attach the flap. So here is the flap. Now I'll be attaching the flap. I have my seam allowance marked out on the opening of the flap. So here is the opening of the flap. Okay, so now I'll be placing this like so. If your fabric has right and wrong side, the right side of your flap will be facing the right side of the bodice like so, so that after stitching it will be turned over to cover up the pocket. So what you'll be showing here will be the right side. So now I'll be placing this very close to the pocket opening. You can see what I'm having here. So I'll be stitching on the seam allowance I have. So this is what I have after attaching the flap. Then I'll open it up like so, flip it over to cover up the pocket, I will give it a good press and top stitch on the edge. Now I'm top stitching on the pocket flap. So this is what I have after top stitching on the flap. You can see this is the inside of the pocket, like so. And I will also lock the edges of the pocket as well. This side, I will just lock it. I will lock it like so. Then I will trim off the seam allowance I have inside. I will trim it off. The next step is to attach the bigger pocket. In attaching the bigger pocket, this has to be fixed on the lower part of the safari suit. So from the hem line, I will measure 3 inches upward. Like so. Then I will place the lower part of the safari suit on the 3 inches point. Also, this pocket is going to fall in between the dart points, like so. And I will secure it with my sewing pins. So after pinning it like so, I will be stitching all around just the way I stitch the smaller placket. So I will stitch it all around and stop on the edges. I'm not closing the opening of the pocket. So also I'll be attaching the flap the same way I attached the smaller flap. So guys, this is the final look of our utilitarian pocket on safari suit. You can see how beautiful and neat it looks. Here is the smaller pocket with the flap, and this is the inside of the pocket. And this is a bigger pocket below the hip level. Here is a flap. You can see the inside is looking neat. So this is the point we'll be stopping in this episode of how to sew a safari suit. Thank you guys for watching this video to this point. Kindly give this video a thumbs up if you find values in this tutorial. Let's meet in the next episode where we will continue from where we stopped on safari suit sewing. Thanks once again, and I will see you around. But till then, always do remember, there is no elevator to success. You have to take the stairs.